Honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah. His Excellency the Vice President, the campaign team no na anapay yagibra to nsa afre no se omra na fe enra ensem a mampani abedi akire edi tu dwa no yane no mu antwitwi mu enkomo because mianne bi ho ma hu behia ensem bisa specific questions a ye behia enchire mu anapay ode ose ayoyo ma yakasei watrase honorable emachi
yeah
I want to hold you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Mufia de Mebahabia na bring it back memories of a brother Miyajuma.
Yeah.
And you probably reference my engineer.
Yeah.
Every time I come here, I reminisce. Yeah. It's good to be back home.
Yeah. Okay. And to acquire a campaign team member for His Excellency the Vice President. Putting together speech and Obabekin Kai, what actually went into it before we even delve into the speech, honorable.
Yo, me that's me fa kwanya tsunami chia watiefo nyina na aja. I'm a professor, I'm your friend.
Professor Governmental Nsem.
Also be market.
Are you a political marketer?
Your top politics. Send true, I feel Matthias said oh, Caro. But indeed, a lot went into the preparation. But I can assure you, say, trimu popa the trad the end of Papa Nangasa. No one at trans.
Okay.
And you move crowd wana you feel senka or my team bina and trauma no, but you can understand this is his vision. Tina requires one at sort at one point he blogged a whole weekend.
Okay.
And sat down and poured out his vision. The way you be beer BRCICT the energy Opare-Ansah na trauma no economy danger must be na trauma no aha we debi his view, his vision. Baby ho sheda tu kwan akohwe sa Estonia call ye how
Estonia no was on taxation no
the ICT in governance here the nyina akohwe se de ti wa hwe wo hu wadi hu komo first hand ansana welcome to all the conclusions and who's ampa ade ne ye if you say obi ye bi obabi ama eye adwuma why not us? Indeed, it is possible because wakwa who say before to me I am a year juma a war mine there. Sapepe job by but trans on one cassa church and sana and no chi on a team no a transi near free as near pensem mu ha pusumu say yanka I didn't beba out ye I didn't want to have what do Ghana for your attention span sometimes for BBC you know it be an too long do bema speech na tintin nanka kranka crowd shape no to there you who and run, but I can tell you he consulted also very widely. A lot of the proposals are or the buyer who say eso traders any eso industry for near the you know on them nyina di nkomo ehun how ehun say oh how ni bi o ha sebe ano so no enya den sa bibi keto bi na dwadi for na de bi a omo hia so what is here o hwe spare parts asemia
yes
okay yeah obi fast spare parts doesn't matter whether engine and gearbox and suspension systems and side mirrors and outdoors. It doesn't matter. A part of a car is a part of a car. It is a container. You feel now coffee fimu. I say brake band there. You say all spare parts of vehicles are spare parts. I say one container. Say 20 footer. And you say 40 footer. And you say. TBC near cause of various years can buy a part in the home. Yeah, my rate no what you. And my business no I am more predictable. So to me who say deal with me the bar me duty I met you for one container. No planning, no pricey, no when the margins are also bring stability business no it's only on doing komo and only industry for a din komo and who so how and sana what's not in Washington the trim pon or the other two I'll tell you say a lot went into it and yet Sebi said that near an animal can bostrimka, there be one Trasiana or body streamuna or Sati two ideas go. He has traveled, he has seen, he has consulted, and when ya a home agony. And on it team also a diho and como and sana or these are a dream about
okay, and share nothing born tougher. Then afterwards, there are questions, specific questions. I baby sir, or shall say with challenges of minor FM and what the government has done, been able to do. Fire shall see free honor nothing. Young Konaka Kankaka.
But ansana no.
Yeah,
my main prof. Response kitwe be or he says something which as a now or 2 year party in Hopi.
Professor Governmental.
Yes, style of governance, doesn't require crisis to see free SHS. Ne ade. Me person me referring to the Constitution of Ghana. Free SHS and yet MPP ya boy trim kekasi ye bibi keke o. President before by if you remember the Constitution Ghana Constitution Oko Article 38 clause 2 so and a casa about F cube so 38.2 no so I'm quite also the government shall within 2 years after Parliament first meets after the coming into force of this constitution draw up a program for implementation within the following 10 years for the provision of free, compulsory, and universal basic education.
Yes.
President Kufuor Breton who said, F cube, I said, I knew you. I'm going to if you school. They did a research and survey. No who said, Obioha, as you look, Mebano, the school fees, Kakrami Chminchas. I don't know him school fees, bo at friends, primary GHS. It was as little as 25,000 back then, which is a net 250 pesos. Let me introduce capitation so that a buying car, it is can call on somewhere a school way or enrollment and call 1,000 school nibenya out of taking 250 pesos. No, I buy this car by mom. Now call uncle school. Then the parents, some of them started. Mebano, school mean to me, Skakran to your name, because human kitchen or Bawumia, Joe free me who cry. I won't get enough to feed the family, let alone not say the move for school feeding. Emra, I call uncle school near no school. All the policies of Abino at the time was directed towards fulfilling the directives now, constitution, at the Amai. Nana Dubai. 2 things. 1, Article 25, 1B. Also, call a while. And also, show say 25, 1B. One moment, me.
25, 1B. I say
yes.
Secondary education in its different forms, including technical and vocational education, shall be made generally available and accessible to all by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education.
It is the basis of free education. It is in the Constitution. And yeah, MP before now, philosophy, they say the individual shall be free to make their choices into say free education. But there be where constitutional imperative. I don't know actually require your best my education are accessible and free to all. In addition to Osako F cube Hobiema, in the spirit of that, Nanado Abino decided to say it is not enough. Says the Okas will be any basic education. Now we just JHS or Ghana. We should redefine JHS to include completion of senior high school. In Jabrana Poye, Minister for Education, the bill by Parliament, to redefine our educational system to include the senior high school education as part of the basic education. And whether you are going by Article 25 or you are going by Article 38, the constitutional imperative now is that education up to the level of senior high school should be free in this country. So what I say, and no NMPP ye the constitution ye adwuma ne ye implement it is Dr. Bawumia ba no catch say free SHS na nanado I introduce no obetwa so no be shemu kena. He's only reiterating constitutional imperative na edaho MIN timan professor no emeka say MP before the any mono nka mo empower individual no no akutua the school fees so I say yes ana etie a constitution ye dey adwuma timasra professor no na what mo bia hu ba bia ogina utie ne kasa na it is not too difficult to tell where he stands on the political divide but I only hope he say enka young politicians ye kasa say ya na nka omo wa academia mu no omo ba mu a enka omo mefa the substance so na professor obi akasa ye yesi be interrogate asem na waka na o se me hwese dia the team chairman kasa na kufuo be kasa ya ansa na we kan dia na chese o person tie the apron to we me man 20%. Oh come on, it is not to no failing brilliant students. Professor say that we fail brilliant students because okoya no shirt and nation vigilator be near there and just any students they say me failing no. Oh prof whether mama didn't hoya okakra the whole thing I mean when let me titi as you know no war NDC mono instead say be fans someone Dr. Kai ya pense mu and make sure say substance room e between the maya kon anim and anko nanim near the atoto omo so omo leader omo yi no be ya afini a yen se dan hunia all kan yen fan to nsem kakra no so aka no yen say mu de hin e be boa Ghana for na Ghana for tumi make informed choices ne nya say adane empoatwa atemdidie so why let us stay on issues campaign ya be ya fiwe and they determined say we are going to talk about issues. Professor was talking about no expect say Dr. Bawumia be redeem ne ho obeye. What is there to redeem? Ghana for they want to hear his vision. They want to hear what he has for this country. Obiati as say currently he is not the president. He is only the vice president. And the too many man and the baye. About out boldly. Some of it even borders on issues that current Abai is dealing with. But he didn't shy away from it. Although a part of Abai, Wababe Chron near, or no Kasanya, quite formal Abaya, or the Abaye. A may encourage me on my war and this say, let us stick to the issues. The Koya Diano, Atim Didia, will not end up helping Ghanaians. We only end up telling Ghanaians, say, when I'm to be the attempt, I say, when I'm in Puetra, to Montaba, and that will not lead us anywhere. To back on track,
yes,
to talk about the issues. I think the doctor started off very well by setting out clearly what role. So what I say, sebi aban muno yede amano o play. Obi anim clearly said your kind say and you're not the driver's seat nim. So enti near bet train say wo say ni ehwe say obeye no eno na obeye. We grad any tell ama yaman roles be to play. In times past in some governments and this yamanyo kuo abaimu ebrebe atwa mu no. Yaman pani dada jo mahama. Role bena eye ne mampani atamels edeman so play. Ayeti obetumi abu ho akonta kire Ghana for se bra me vice president no ye the way na share me nsa na me ye ne kodru sei enti me bu ho akonta kire na mon carry me me de me nim se ye man bibi sa ehia se otumi me ye hu se bra me vice president no we ne de share me nsa na sei na me ye de kodru ye ne anura amampani abedi akire Bawumia e ye ma ye ne se mama ye hu clearly if you say bi wa na obi it's mine BC Basa one time be say akwano ka ho na onka ho ade no ye bia na onye bi opreso na ompreso wachene the rule clearly say you buy ufa for instance finance say minister no ono hwe fiscal responsibility in the kika ho governor no ono hwe monetary policy ne ade ono so systems ye de be ye adwuma ebeboa ama economy na tumi move near there and then they share mensa That is why you focus on digitalization to make sure.
Honorable, he was tagged and seen as an economic guru.
Yes.
Back then.
Yes.
And Enra to say, okay, so Sana, he was more into the systems and technologies. Now, of course, there's some departure from, because he was very much into the issues of the economy. Yes. How do you explain?
This is not the first time I hear President for your position in 1997.
Yeah.
When you why not MPP spokesperson on finance, Dr. Preku. By a bad man, why not be a finance minister? Of mouth.
Yeah.
How do we explain that? It was the prerogative of the president to decide why your person did finance no ashaninsa. See the budget by parliament. Unim the actual book nachi. And in moving the motion, no, the actual motion statement. The finance minister moves that motion to present the budget on behalf of the president. The president, the budget. And no, the finance ministers as well, Omer presenting man. Whilst we are campaigning, whilst we are seeking the mandate, ya kasabi. And then I'm church. It doesn't mean say be a number church economy more into die not just say when I'm economic and finance minister. No, it will rest with the president to say as soon as you are not maintaining the finance no man. And yes, Dr. Bawumia did speak to the nation about the party's programs, planned programs, there. But that was advancing the argument for the party on behalf of the leader of the party at the time. By leader, by president, I say, your finance, mami, Bank of Ghana, mami, we are vice president there, but make cover out be big crama. Also, you say, na emwa. Nti not church mu, na edisha densano. Kwaya wa faso, aye. And I'm more aware to anybody on this Juma night. Edru. Wamba meka say abino say bibi atochiwa na bibi anko ya onka ho. That is not what he's seeking to say. What church more to the point say what say even on a balance with all the issues ayenya and the quadruple problems of Russia-Ukraine war, COVID-19, electricity, legacy issues with take or pay. The financial sector cleanup exercise, the course so offer head to head every single index of the financial sector, say GDP growth, say CD depreciation. We have still performed better than the NDC, who never suffered any of these major things. What he has said is so we have time now he NC if he Brian Far by 2017, the BC by 2019 or 2020 indices now were very, very good, growing at very good rates. Stability was happening until say and there are some truisms that is here in Rwanda. There are two things that the president and the nation has agreed not to do. One, they have agreed, say, nobody would deny, say, the genocide occurred. And two, they have agreed that nobody will also promote genocide. We all have to agree that we have suffered as a nation under COVID. We have to all agree, say, we have been impacted by the Russian-Ukraine war. In fact, and he shows statements of renowned global bodies. This financial depression, we are saying, the 1930s, the independent China. We haven't seen this before. Of course, it has led to coup d'etats in neighboring countries, riots in other places. Countries far advanced, say UK near there. Baby, that man for sorry, Lima, check and normal amount. But the good thing is, throughout all this, line to fuel, the lights are still on. So, what is it? Workers, government workers, everybody is still being paid through all the challenges. But say, We are only saying say it is beginning to get better. And Dr. Bawumia communicated some normal way clearly in his statement yesterday. So yes, we are admitting we have had challenges, but look at us before the challenges happened. We were on track. The challenges came. We fell, but we are up. We are dusty. We are sorry. A sign. A move forward. As we speak, things are getting better. I may remind you, as at the beginning of last year, I say inflation was around 54%. By the end of last year, we do around 23%. And truly, it showed. Oto Anwa Kufogaloi. That time, not try 1,000, 1,002 near there. And it wasn't even stable. And now we cost 1,000. Or Chamba got 1,002. Then it's over 800. Then it's over 1,004. And then it has come and stabilized around the year 450. Okay. So while churches are no more, we are on the road to recovery. And now, church digitalization, drones policy, good for all. Normal, no based on Akwenya presidents, no, at the man.
Okay, Honorable Opare-Ansah, on the issue of the 2.1 million jobs, and Vice President I think it will be very important and necessary to see a breakdown of the various sectors and how many jobs have been created in these sectors, and then in that regard.
Okay, X-ray say 1.2 of that is in the public sector, and then about 900 and in excess of 900 was also from the private sector. And he gave the source as coming from Senate. He gave a clear source.
Okay.
And speaking, X-ray baby information will provide the source if free. As to further breakdown here, I am sure in due course we'll be able to tell you this X number is in this particular sector. But on my examples of how we have even more than doubled the size of the fire service, for instance. First pass, America see before Procifua, 5 years 600 and 800. But sometime last year or last 2 years, we had recruitment of the combined services of about 10,000 people. Our police in Kwa, I'm sure they got in excess of over 2,000. And these little ones point to where some of those jobs now can. But clearly, we can, and I'm sure it will help our case if we expand it further and show, 2.1 million jobs.
Yes, 2.1.
But clearly, he has provided adequate basis and the sources for it. And I think I have confidence in the information that he provided.
On Dr. Bawumia's new tax system, propose if indeed okay, before that, I'm saying I see mo abino a propose tax reforms before the year 2024, and Dr. Bawumia also adding a new tax system at the ABA. And for instance, you share the revision and expansion of the taxes on gambling revenues. And no ewo and a fee. Dr. Bawumia also say Nami Adumna etuabamana obey betting tax and also Eddie free ho. And then again, the proposed tax reforms for 2024 a removal of selected VAT exemptions, including 15% VAT on electricity. And when you mean no yate saban so suspended 15%. No, but of course, Dr. Bawumia also say he is going to eliminate it if indeed that VAT is still on the books. And then the introduction of the emission tax and plastic plastic and packaging tax, and also like I say, elimination of the emission tax. Yes, proposals from the government for 2024 the new tax system Dr. Bawumia and at the Abet today, how we can juxtapose the two. Maybe say okay, so now the government is proposing these taxes, the vice president and also head of the economic management team say how do we put the two together?
Dr. Bawumia, in putting this across, he laid a good foundation. Who said a brand MPP bar baimu and the challenges MPP are facing whilst in government, it has led us to taking certain decisions. a Brown also be so buying him from 2025. No, he knows where we will leave. The current albino will leave the country, and that is why he's also proposing certain set of decisions that he's going to take. For instance, Abra, if he has here, the number of taxes. I was there in Parliament. We call them nuisance taxes, if you remember. Taxes be brave, free. And indeed, government started expanding the productive sector. The industries here, the 1D1F, a lot of them started coming into production. Then government revenue. But by the time COVID, any partner fear for so long, no productivity, and government in addition had to provide free electricity for certain lifeline customers, give 50% for other consumers for almost 1 year. Water, yeah, the thing now were bills and burdens of government. Ebedu baby net say Abai saying reintroducing some taxes to improve its revenue collection. Ochre we munyina, and Ochre say by the time or no ebe take you over, he knows where we will be, and at that point, it is his view that we will not need all these taxes that are. If government by then hasn't even felt to say, maybe I don't need everywhere. That's why he put a caveat that if they are still on our books, which means that even as government is busy working and implementing the necessary reforms, it is possible, say, Abaya, will see the needs at this point there. Anyway, and free. Meaning, there are some of these taxes, Abaya propose Parliament, consider, as we speak, we all talk about it, but indeed and in truth, I don't think implementation has started. So the financial
one of such taxes here.
For instance, betting taxi, have they really started collecting it? We all talk about it.
Betting tax, no.
Betting there, but meaning whether they have, and rather many some meeting common times, and I must start NLA for Moonbread. Not you. They haven't really started the implementation. It's all about them, but maybe being to be, and I'm betting. I don't know, but that is how I get it. But about some way they said you bet tax. Yet it is true. Government has put it in place. It is left with its implementation. Remember, say for most taxes, it takes time for GRA to put out what they call the guidelines or the implementation notes. And sana actually. The agencies responsible for, the business agency, those taxes, how to go about its implementation. Parliament, but it takes the main agency, which is GRA, to show the public how to do it. Look, CST, Communication Service Tax, as at now, GRA is still in discussions with Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, including your good selves, as to how to implement CST concerning you. But CST has been on our books since 2008 and was the changes were made to it in 2013. The taxes bill Dr. Krana Assembly been say, look, some of these things will come so it's not bringing any revenue to government. Wherever there seems to be some of these issues, why don't we take it off and give certainty to industry players? I mean, a certainty but as a you
are rightly saying that certainty is not there. It's Obikwa Honma for say Uchabet and also Chaluta or Yebibia or gambling near the officer, Sir, but clearly, if that communication hasn't come out, then that
and it even avoids the situation where Obimpo are not illegal. And it has happened in this country before. I remember back in my first term in Parliament, there was an increase in tax on some fuel issue, and it hadn't happened legally. But the announcement had been made, and then prices at the pumps started going up, and indeed they were collecting and paying the monies, but suddenly government realized that it didn't have the mandate to collect it, and a decision had to be made as to how and what to use that money for. All these challenges do crop up in a tax administration due to the challenges may describe here. Dr. Assembly said, let us simplify a whole tax system. Where we have Parliament, obeko adwuma 4 years bosumi so bia yitua oka obaji pay slip no yeto tax 4 years ne so na okako file for a nomination or electoral commissioner. You are required to say it is a the tax clearance certificate account. All failure forms na the comma omo ewo GRA. They are bill. I remember the last time I paid was about 18,000 for the 4 years. Then I asked myself, I don't understand it. And I'm possibly even breaking the law as a lawmaker, and I didn't even know how I was breaking it, because I mean the minister Bawumia also yet me pay I got to my account with all the minds and my taxes a woman How does it happen that after 4 years make a file for your friend is elections, and now make a tax clearance? I mean, it was about in area yesterday be or the Saka way. Where did I get the extra income from? I don't know. So indeed, all these are some of the things I say, listen, let us bring simplicity to our tax system. Flat rate. To be any say 10 cities now me any tax components in 1 city. 80 your brother 9 cities are my way. After simple tax returns, my file, my tax at me try na my try any o file na ka wo mu a before aba the into. But I said there are so many hidden little things obi hantiasie. It is important because that will also enhance compliance, which will improve the revenue collection. The idea can bottom line is a buying secret is a tour at this amountful a trianimono. As he yaquire a mountful bit to me, a fast way to a more beer to me a trian chafa a womb. If say you pardon why I my animono. And a tour to say it as and go be a triana dear papa, Gianquaman on the grassy.
But honorable, is it not a case of Dr. Bawumia campaigning against his own policies while still in government, and then maybe promising Ghanaians say moto abamamia how na me de besto me am count me de besto ye mono moto abamami as president this time around there me ba me you free ho me ba me you free ho me ba me you free ho any sanity.
Not at all. He made a profound statement yesterday. Part sounded like a joke, but the second half was quite profound. Or say, Cecilia de me driver's mate. But say, Moto Abama Mayor President, I will be in the driving seat, and I will have full executive authority. So what I say, on mine, to me, I did go mine, I did take decisions. That's the president, and so, and show be as them. Obia waka or ye bibiano, president no, and I'll ponic a cra. I'ma say, fire mame, fire away mame. So, President Amos out to me.
Yes.
Cabinet net who you know to me take a decision. The president can say, no, this is what I want to do. Most things are free abide ho eba parliament. Eba bano. I say cabinet has approved that so for parliament to consider. But in a few instances, no, bibi eba parliament, your friend, no, executive approval. The president has given executive approval for parliament to consider ABCD. Because agent. So, president and to me and found cabinet some more advice. President didn't find a need. Say it is a medical cabinet. Now more advising me. Of course, this one I can take my own decision. President, he disagrees with whatever advice cabinet is giving him. Indeed, he's meant to go in a certain direction. But constitution president to do that. And I'm not talking because our president as president, president parliament from 1992, you will get a
president
lot
as the constitution
says. The executive approvals about parliament.
Yeah.
For the 4 terms I was in parliament, President Kufuor the executive approvals by Atamels the executive approvals by John Mahamudu by and Anado by Obia Dibiba. Until the style of your governance. What that means, they say, you may be the vice president, you may be a minister of state, you go to cabinet, you advance all your arguments. At the end of the day, the decision as to how to do a particular thing rests with the president and not you. So when a team play and so to me PM free agro ni mumba mbejina bonte me dey nanka dey we me say
because that is why that is what a lot of people were expecting,
and we should not even encourage it.
Adentina say one mampani nya adwene a one man metre Ghana for say Ghana for me dey matka say you no mampani say you no person ko
me dey normal bi o ho a enyina ntese so adan na yako parliament a ye my Bible yeah Christopher ye mo ye Catholics cross yeah ma Muslimi for Quran. So no more any me say you know so you say affirm by affirmation. They swear oath of office. They swear oath of secrecy. They de and no my be ha as ye bobo and some hono. So obia be kire na adwere. Ye be wie na me ba be gina bontin and ye call cabinet no. Me na me say we say. Na cabinet no fa so on say. I agree to o de wa agree be to form. You be person more at that point they be nanka why going to cry is the best. But that is also why you choose leaders. Yeah, appointments are you have to give it to Nipa almost to me advance your arguments. What I say? That whole process of your campaign here, you know.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what's not cabinet that's one of the best brain, one of the best ideas. I want to me and sell it or idea ni want to me and pushy argument be here. But at the end of the day, whatever decision is taken, it is taken as a collective. Vice President Bawumia Mayati said, whatever his views are on matters in the last 7 years, he supports the collective decisions he stands by it. However, some woman opportunities of a president there. There is no ambiguity. Say obetumi aka ana obetumi aye ana ontumi nye wacheche mu clearly onya tumi na ono pese oye.
Is that not also to suggest say as a vice president to Nana Danko Akufo-Addo he was not given that room, that space to operate, maybe share his ideas on most of the policies implementing this year.
Aka ye bona sum males wankasa Mahama no person resigning. Emisata no person resigning. Bawumia de onya kwan yebi. It is the complaint is so I just say near your man kwan more year so no waka. The other part of the speech here baby your constitutional review no.
Yes.
Okay say or agree since here constitutional review. Now at some point where be president to me or no yente so kakra. Waka speech ni mu. Where do you think that is coming from? He's been in government for 7 years. Maybe the feeling is actually how mind the president to grow more power to do. So when him say fire ordinary constitution the normal one amendments it will call baby police council normally there you will think say the chairman vice president. But when him say Ebra aka joining Kufuor for alliance in 1996 leading to the election. Rollins the bill called parliament almost remove all those positions now because Aka was still vice president and Rollins was like, hey, I'm vice president, I can't join your position man. Almost election against me and he now chairs the police council, the armed forces council. So amendments were made to our constitution to remove the vice president even as chairman of those councils. And you now to say Dr. Bawumia, chairman of police council, it is because the president has decided to make him the chairman, not because the constitution says so. That has been amended out. What I say.
Okay.
And some of these things is what is advising him. Say, look, your president could be our power to do. Send your buyer a normal, you become you bit near the end. Emma president's no powers number from. He has touched on that. I believe, say, Vice President Bawumia, candidate Bawumia, flag bearer Bawumia, leader of my party. What to me, I'm an experiencer when you're in the last 7 years, no, a show, I will quite our before so govern going forward from 2025. And my engineer say by his statements and actions and rano, he is departing from the supporter of my current administration. And I say, or patch say decisions be on take, or dissociating home from it. No. Wamayata say clearly say he stands by all of that. However, some decisions now were premised on the conditions existing about 2017. And how I am from 2022, especially the challenges we had with the economy. No, I don't know how I take decisions our take. Now you're sure from 2025 economy position our mind about women. Decisions or no any vision or there to that is the best that will drive the nation to where we want to go.
Right. And many honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah, your campaign team member for Dr. Bawumia, and I'm and commander. There are a few more issues. You touch on Ansana wrap up. But Shannon to say Holland moto to swap moto promo no koso. Holland says Okoto moto insurance. Fisabria kopim April so many every year our free fuel vouchers our free roadside assistance to car say ya about wow na fe amazing gift and also so or the teacher mobody anako pebi na odo ani che Holland office bia and also so contact to insurance broker obenya bi toll free number is 0800 444 999 0800 444 999. Holland Insurance, we insure you and everything you love. Honorable, the issue of the number of ministers His Excellency the Vice President say to Abamana onyomo ebeye ejuma 50. That's ambitious because already a former president I guess on the 60 and or the ebeye ejuma and Vice President Atiso ede aba 50. Can we maybe if you get a fair idea of ministries because we deputies in Akahu and the 50 no. How is the picture going to look like?
You should put into context what he said. As some more Kaya Sana Owi Ohon. Utia Ababuamo who say a very doable. Or say, and this paragraph 116, the statement enhancing the role of the private sector along with fiscal and administrative decentralization, improving our systems and the way our institutions function will lead to greater efficiency, cutting waste, and ensuring value for money in procurement. The move towards the private sector provision of many public services will create fiscal space of at least 3% of GDP. This represents a major paradigm shift. Additionally, an efficient system of governance will require even fewer ministers. Therefore, I would have no more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers.
Yeah.
So clearly, he plans on making the governance system efficient. There are functions that are currently ministries, departments, agencies. I offer that you can easily farm it out to private sector entities. So what I say to do, there were so many services, government agencies, render. Some of which you can. What is the first? Ogoji visa. I will. At the British embassy. No more processing in okay.
Yeah.
But you see, they farmed it out to say the Emporium also a hotel can see ambassador.
Yeah.
Moving pick.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there are government services which you can easily farm out to private sector to do, and that will make government more efficient and leaner. The jobs in there will still be out there for citizens to do, but having that complex governance structure it requires so many ministers and deputies. No, that is what he's talking about. Say, when you allow the private sector to be part of the provision of all these services, now it becomes easier to have a smaller government. He has shown you how he's going to do it. He didn't just get up and say I'll have no more than 50 ministers and deputies. Because number 60, what was his basis? And then original Suka 60 minutes. Just because people are complaining and now are buying a solodo, no be so can now most mobile now the saying also okay next time I 60 near Jatum there be. Remember President Kufuor before he came into office complained about the size of government.
Yes.
But Obai on one can say, hey, on one account you by way there, moment space kakana, not buying this one there. So I just say, at that time, President Kufuor no Mahamudu, okay, Dr. Bawumia has been in government for 7 years. It's our culture, and they say, based on your juma, and then your first year, he will need no more than 50 minutes. He didn't even say 50 ministers, as in concrete. I think no more than. So possibly 40. What does it?
Yeah.
Your constitution, say, yeah, cabinet should not be even more than 19 ministers. Even if you took the biggest cabinet number and decides I will not have any minister who is not a cabinet minister, that's 19 ministers. Add your regional ministers, that's 16. I can't do about 35. Now cabinet near here deputies, what they can't say 10, you're around 46. Maybe your cabinet ministers in your
deputies, yeah.
So they be so be here me no. So it is doable. So you can function in this country with less than or up to 50 minutes.
Okay, but
he has shown how he intends to do it.
This year's election is going to be between the past and the future. Yes. That statement came out very profound.
Another profound statement. Yes.
Can Ghanaians trust Dr. Bawumia? Ghana for bet me Dr. Bawumia Eddie. Based on the send your better obejina honma or can say me. Ghana for bet me no Eddie say no. Yanginindi na yanfatumi no emano. Can we trust him?
There be a semba kwa mekane say, and in fact, Dr. Kranek, I'll say a share group of journalists be and be bisano. Say now you've been put out there as a liar. What are you going to do about it? And his response was, I can only fight that propaganda with the truth. And what is the truth? The truth is, say Bibisawa has a Kasemba kwa Dr. Bawumia ka cheso ya trofwa. You will struggle to tell me. Abra ubisa professor na was your ton market politics or ton politics. Professor not ton politics no. Ubisa no was I a marketer
or political marketer.
Yeah. Your ton politics. Me person said I'm a coffee na mama bisa me. No mama go school. Ya ntiamo. Person me coffee no bisa me say I must professor near there said I'm a catch. Tell me
or a political marketer.
Fakotwi
or you be a Amayo somewhere Jedi say political marketer.
There be key was political.
Amayo somewhere Jedi
on politics. Professor your friend say.
Go for now. On your seller or your marketer.
If I could cream, say some station in station to your top politics. But we are not top politics. Or canon. So, who beside say, I'm a tear who beside Ona Bawumia Anna, to be in Indy, Anna, say, who's being in work? Tell me, I'm back. And maybe me tear and for or more national communications director friends.
Sammy.
Aye. No, Obo no maybe, or say, Dr. Bawumia, I could promise people of Cape Coast say in 2020 say they are doing a port B amomo no boa oboe port anya na ebie no well mean me gina a mancha bona ewo enkra na me ka kire wo say ye port amam na say wonungwa na ateshia medintro no okay on say Dr. Bawumia say into probability is first in Africa, no be any be, no boy Tanzania for be, Kenya for be. A bear goes to Katanga, no, near Kasimbiche Unity Hall for. You see, a Bofuna Monte and Sukuna Manco. Asema Dr. Bawumia Akano, simple and it is still true today. Also, Ghana's interoperability system is the only one in Africa that will allow you to move sika from a bank account to mobile wallet. And it is simple. Unti industry na sia unti ase. Tanzania ni Kenya no interoperability in idea from the industry led interoperability. Aye telcos no. So and I come ho boom no ma almost switch. Inti ofa momo to me say nema Tigo to me the Tigo wallet eko ha. Ye there no aye central bank led. So GIPS and almost install it in interoperability system no. Ama to be a easy careful mobile wallet. Ghana, you are able to already make payments to ECG, water. So now I read about how the services in Kenya are now considering to allow customers on which may make some of these bill payments on their system. It has my Dr. Bawumia and say, yes, system, no, it is the only one in Africa at this point to me, yes, and it is true today. Eti more set questions in ma we are no more answer, no more friendly panese or in contumpo ni. It based on all these things, no. I'm confident say Ghanaians, no, edgy Dr. Bawumia Edi. And there's no reason why Omanfo will have some thoughts be saying to me and trusting someone Dr. Akano. One mamage now can start to say me vision. He took it from Babia a day or minor show Monsania why and somewhere you can't any buy the air. Even somewhere Mukana doctor can say okay then you can't nunti amani and contomponi. Everything doctor said is in our manifesto and we've done quite a bit of work. Now I buy no bagana ha in the 8 years be omudi no on my manifesto ideas no omuch me implementing in a way. Does that make no Mahamudu and this omuka teacher from mobile deprived communities? They will give you a certain percentage as allowance. More technical subjects, they will give you a certain percentage as allowance. Our man, you know, the Mahamudu so we are true for. Is that how they say you define lies in this country? You try now, you sanitize your political space, no. So because you say me baba say no went to me anya. Bisani ninti went to me anye. It be a genuine reasons. It be an all the intent to do was there. However, in economics, there's something called all things being equal. When all things are equal. Thank you.
Honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah, His Excellency the Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, the campaign team who and yeneno atwetwe and Komono Adom 106.3